One of the things that Ben and I talk about quite a bit, especially as it relates to the 5 factors of health that I mentioned at the top of this, is our aim with those is not to win at health. It's not to win in the gym. It's not to be healthy for the sake of being healthy, but all of it is an attempt to build a life of peace of mind, of calm, of satisfaction, and of fulfillment. And so with that in mind, could you tell us a little bit about what the deep life is, how you've constructed that, what you mean by that when you talk about it? And then where does calm or peace of mind fit into that bigger picture of the deep life?
I think of a deep life as a life that's lived on purpose, right? So you're on purpose, spending time doing things that are meaningful and important to you, and on purpose, minimizing time with things that aren't that important to you or get in the way of things that are important to you or are draining. So you're engineering or architecting a life around stuff that matters and then try to minimize to the degree possible things it doesn't. It's like a very attentional approach to life. It's taking my idea of deep work from the professional context, which is like, hey, what really matters is focusing on the things that are really important and not letting the other distractions and work keep you away from that. And it kind of moves it over to life writ large. It's like a life that's built around the things that really matter and not letting other things that aren't so important but are appealing or distracting getting in the ways of things that, that are important, right? So that's how I think of the deep life. And I think of it as like it's a construction project almost. It's figuring out what's important to me and then working backwards from how do I get closer to that and how do I move away from the things that are getting in the way? And then that's where you get creative. And it's almost like assembling a puzzle or solving a complicated engineering problem. It's a much different approach than I think when a lot of people think about life transformation, they want an epiphany. They want it like I had this idea, I made this radical change, and I lived happily ever after. Where often deep lives are architected, and it's a sort of an interesting back and forth interactive process. They're not discovered. And so this is definitely an idea I've been thinking a lot about. But to me, that's the whole ball game in the end, is a life where you're focused on the stuff that matters. And on purpose, you're trying to avoid the stuff that doesn't or gets in the way of that.
Yeah, I like that. You've written that the deep life isn't for everybody. It requires hard work and drastic changes to your habits. For many, there's comfort in artificial busyness, while the deep life demands that you leave much of that behind. The deep life requires deep work.
Yes. And so it's like a yes and, because there's a subtlety, because I've sort of evolved to some degree my usage of the word deep life. When I wrote that, what you're talking about there, what I really was referring to was a working life that prioritizes deep work, like working on the things professionally that matters and not getting caught up. And what I was trying to argue there, which I think is absolutely true, is that's hard. And also, like, we should recognize a lot of people don't mind the artificial busyness. Artificial busyness is predictable. Artificial busyness is a game that you can win at. For a lot of people, if you're in a context where I'm going to use visible activity as a proxy for useful effort, you're like, I am safe. I know how to have a lot of visible activity. I just have to answer all the emails and jump on all the calls and make sure I respond quickly on the Slack thread or whatever. I know I can succeed at that. Where if you instead say, no, I'm just going to do this thing that's really hard, measure me on how it turns out, you could fail. Like, maybe you're not up for it. Maybe the thing is not successful. And also, deep work is really hard. It's exhausting to answer a lot of emails, but it's not hard in the same way of like actually trying to produce something original and valuable. So in the professional context in particular, moving from busyness to depth, that's not easy. And there is a lot of people who say, I'll take the easy discomforts of busyness so I don't have to pursue the hard benefits of focus.
What are the benefits?
Well, the hard benefits of focus is a sense of meaning, a sense of impact. You're touching on the sort of psychological indicators that we look for meaning in life, on producing something that matters to the world, the self-respect that you have out of it. We're wired to get great satisfaction out of seeing our intentions made manifest concretely in the world in a way that's appreciated. Also, in the end, if you're succeeding with this, you're avoiding a lot of things that makes us miserable. I really think the frenetic context shifting that is required from busyness, which means I have to switch from one topic to another every couple of minutes, like in an email inbox. Our brains are not wired to do that. It takes a long time for us to successfully network switch. It really puts our brain in a pain situation to have to constantly be jump into a meeting, but before you can deal with the things you talked about in the meeting, you have to jump into another meeting while you're trying to answer emails about something else. Our brain really does hate that. And people know this. It's that sense of pain you feel when you're trying to empty your inbox. Like, why is this so hard? I'm just trying to go message by message. Why is this so hard? Why am I jumping around and just like grabbing like messages that seem easier? It's because it actually is really hard to go in a fixed order through messages that are completely unrelated to each other. Like, that is a huge taxing thing you're asking your brain to do. So there's a lot of implicit, persistent background pain that is caused by the life of busyness that we get used to, but it's not a very nice existence. So when you switch to the deep work life, that goes away. And you're like, oh, my brain feels better. Like it's like a good burn when I'm working on it, and then it releases when it's done. This feels natural. This feels sustainable. This feels meaningful. How did I put up with the life of context switching every 30 seconds that I was living before, which was very unnatural? Our brains really do get upset about it.